Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chris Scully and Matt Winslow coming to you from Drive. And today we have a really fun topic to talk about. We're going to talk about what your exit plan is, or what it should be, I guess. So to start with, let me frame it this way. The best time to work out your exit plan is now, no matter what stage you're in. In fact, I'll back that up a minute. The best time to work out your exit plan is when you start your business. But if you didn't do that, the best time to do it is right now. So let's get into it, Matt.
Hey,
Um,
well, let me jump in here. Do you mind,
yeah,
Chris?
go for it.
I've had a
Absolutely.
chance to meet thousands of shop owners over the last several years, and they all say the same kind of thing. Well, I guess I'll die here someday. Well, here's the bad news. You're not going to die, man. You're going to live. And that's the problem. You die, there's life insurance. You live, well, now you're screwed. And when I sat down with my financial planner, he says, "How much do you think you need to retire?" I'm like, "I don't know, 500,000 would probably be good." He goes, "Well, how much do you want to live on after, when you retire?" I'm like, "I don't know, 100 grand." He goes, "Okay. Well, that's 150,000 before taxes. Social Security is going to pay you 16,800 based on what you've been reporting. So you need to come up with 134,000. So you need $3,300,193 at age 65, or you need a business continues to pay you 150 grand. What's your plan?" And I'm like, "What?
Yep.
Holy crap!" So one of the things I tell you what, Chris, I watched you recently do the Fundamentals of Wealth, which was probably the most eye-opening seminar I've ever seen. And you talk about the difference between making money and creating wealth and what the long game is. Can you just share some of your thoughts with that?
Well, yeah, and I'll start with this. Cash flow is king. Um, and this is a huge issue. It's a bigger issue as time goes on. Here's why. Because when Congress invented Social Security back in the Depression, the average life expectancy was 65 years old. Now it's knocking on the door of 90. And we have more and more people living to or past 90 than we ever have. And that's only going to, the life expectancy is only going to get longer. I looked at a graph that showed the trend of life expectancy over the last, I think it was 30 years, and it never went down. It always kept going up and up and up. So
Wait, can I feed that back? So the good news is you're going to live. The bad news is
you're going
you're
to
going to
live.
live.
That's right. That's the problem, right? So what used to be conventional wisdom just doesn't apply as readily anymore because you have to plan for a longer period of time. My mother, as an example, retired in around age 65. By the time she passed away, she'd been retired for 20 years. That's a long time to plan for. And you've got to consider all those things. Here's another thing. When was the last time we had an overall deflation of prices or cost of living?
Not this year.
Not ever in my lifetime. I don't remember one.
Hey, check
So
this out. My mom is 91. She's in assisted living. She'll probably outlive us all. $7,342 a month is what it
yeah,
costs to be there.
it's expensive. So then, so you got that. Prices are going to keep going up. Life expectancy is going to keep going up. Here's another one that doesn't go down. Hate to break it to you, but how many times have we seen a tax decrease that lasted for very long?
Mm.
Rarely.
Well, I got the perfect plan. I know what I'll do. I'll raise my kids and then I'll move back in with them and they can pay all my bills. Well, wait a minute. The millennials are moving back in with us.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem we have to solve when we start talking about exit planning is as a individual, how do you set yourself up so that you're not going to end up spending your golden years working at the Golden Arches or something like that? Okay. And it's a problem. So what you got to do, first and foremost, is get your shop making money.
Mm.
Okay, that's why that owner break even is so vital. From there, you'll have profit that you can then invest in your retirement and build wealth. Okay. And there's a lot of different strategies to improving your cash flow, not just in your shop, but in your personal finances. So in your shop, you've got options like, oh, you could raise prices. That's not a bad idea. You can reduce expenses. You can retire liabilities. So what do I mean by that? Any debt that you have, whether it's a mortgage on your shop or your house or credit cards or whatever, you want to get those paid off by the time you're ready to retire. That's critical. So let's talk about the shop first. If you've paid off all those liabilities by the time you're ready to retire and your part of your strategy is to sell, and let's just say for argument's sake, you own the dirt, with that property being free and clear, that gives you options in retirement. You got two choices or three. One is you can sell it lock, stock, and barrel. So you get the value of the real estate and the value of the business in the sale. That'll get you potentially all the way or part of the way to where you want to be. You could sell the business and hold the real estate and charge the new owner of the shop market value rent to do business on your property. You could do that.
You kind of should be charging yourself market value rent now, shouldn't you?
You should be. If you own the property, absolutely. If you, especially if your mortgage is paid, you should always be doing that. And that's part of the way you can accumulate cash on the personal side.
I guess what you're saying there is the worst time to raise the rent is when you try and get a new person in there, because how can they afford it? You know,
Right.
the business has to be able to pay that rent and still make the 20%.
Yeah. So, and that's, see, this is all part of your exit strategy. So let's just discuss that one part. I own the property, I own the shop, and I'm looking to eventually exit, right? So I want to make sure that the shop is paying to the property owner market rent for at least 2 or 3 years prior to the point where I'm looking at selling the shop. Because if I can then show a prospective buyer 2 or 3 years of financial statements showing that the shop is producing enough to be able to afford the rent, that buyer is not going to have any concerns about that. He will see
Yeah.
that the financials work.
Here's the rude part. If I could just jump in here for a second.
Yeah, sure.
The problem is you're not going to find anybody who wants your shop unless it's someone you already know. So here's the problem. You may be able to sell the shop, but you're going to hold the note one way or the other because they're not going to be able to get a loan to buy your property. You know, because the people you would target, the people that don't know better, that buy shops for crazy amounts of money, they buy Meinekes and Christian Brothers. They go for the franchises, you know, because they have this fantasy that somehow they'll run on autopilot. But you go to sell it to your kid, no banker's going to loan them a couple $1 million to buy your joint. It's not going to happen.
No, but you will get the occasional technician out there who's looking for a shop that they can, because they want to work for themselves. They don't want to work. Don't want to keep working for somebody else. And they may or may not have money. They may or may not have a relative who will finance the deal. And if you go ahead and decide to carry the note, you can. That is an option. I'm not going to say it's a good option, but it is an option.
There's only an 85% chance they'll blow it up. You'll get it back, according to Small Business Administration. I mean, what could go wrong?
There's a lot that could. That's true. That there's risk, right? And see, what we're talking about when we're talking about selling your business ultimately is managing the risk and the reward that you go through during that process and that the buyer is going to go through. And it has to balance. And if it balances, then you have a transaction that'll work. If it doesn't, then potentially it could go wrong on either side. That's just the fact. But let's say, hypothetically, that you own the property, you've been paying yourself market rent, and let's say you've already paid off the mortgage. What do you do with that rent money? Well, you take that rent money that is over and above your profit out of the business, and you put it toward your retirement, and you retire your own liabilities personally, your mortgage, your car payments, your credit cards, whatever you have that you owe money on, you get rid of that. That way you're reducing your nut that you need to cover personally in retirement. Now, does that mean you're going to need less than that 3.3 or whatever? Well, not necessarily, because like I said, prices are going to continue to go up, taxes may go up, all kinds of things can happen. So, but you're going to put yourself in a better position.
Hey, check
That's
this
the
out.
key.
65% of retirees spend 40% of their gross income just on the mortgage that they didn't
That's
pay
right.
off. Holy mackerel.
That's
And
right.
by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been contributing, if you've been paying, taxes as an S corp, maybe 50,000, hiding the rest as distributions, you're going to get a whopping $16,800 from Social Security a year, and that's taxable. Did you know that?
Absolutely. And it's going to be taxable at state and federal level. That's the thing, right? And more, the government is looking for ways. I just read an article recently, yesterday or today, this morning, I can't remember which, because I look at finance stuff all the time. But the Congress is currently weighing different ways to raise taxes. Some of it's based on your total income. Some of it, they're looking at raising your capital gains. And I'm not even going to get into how that affects the sale of a shop, but just to clue you in, it does. There's a lot of different potential ways Congress is looking at raising taxes. So all that stuff factors into an exit strategy. Now, I don't want to make this all seem like gloom and doom to everybody out there who doesn't have an exit plan yet. There are things that you can do to set yourself up that make sense. Okay, so first thing is, do you have children, family members who want to take over the business? We have a number of clients at Drive who are third generation shop owners. And so if you've got family members that want to continue the business and keep it in the family, that's part of your exit strategy. How you structure that, you can do it a number of different ways. And you want to talk to a combination of people to figure out what the best structure is for you. Your attorney, your accountant, your financial advisor. A couple of different ways you can structure it. One is, depending on the size of your estate and whether or not there's tax advantages to it. Again, this is a question for your accountant, but it is a strategy, is you gift a certain percentage of ownership over time to your child who's going to take over the shop. That way you're not running into a tax on that, because you do it at a certain pace, which your accountant can lay that out. That happens over time. And then another solution is your child gets financing somehow and buys it outright, which is a possible scenario there. And a third one is you just set up an agreement where they take over the shop and you maintain, they pay you a certain amount of income per week or per month out of the shop, and you work out the shop's financial and production needs to be able to do that. And I've seen all three of those scenarios done.
Can we back up a second?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about why none of these scenarios are going to work for most of the people out there. Let's talk about scenario number one. if you sell your shop, even if you sell the property, you're doubtful going to generate the 3 million after all the taxes you pay when you sell. So that's not going to fund your retirement. By the way, one of the things that Chris says in Fundamentals of Wealth that haunts me even to this day is you should never, ever invest in anything that doesn't generate cash flow. So if you've bought the property and you've never been taking rent out as passive income as a separate enterprise, well, that was a bad idea. But so let's go back to that for a second. One of the things he talks about is, I should say you talk about, sir, is you got to figure out how you're going to build wealth, because wealth is what sustains you once you turn off the business. When you stop working, wealth is your resources to continue your lifestyle, correct? That's what wealth is. It's not making money, it's wealth. So are you going to make the shop a retirement asset or not? The smart way to do it is not. You make a ton of money, you put it in the stock market, you do it in real estate, you walk away from the shop, you're done. That's the smart play. Unfortunately, I didn't attend your class until later in my life. And so guess what? That's a play you start in your 20s, not a play you start when you're in your 50s.
Right. So depending on where you're at when you start this planning, and this is kind of where I was going to go with this, and I could talk for, well, how long was that workshop? It was several days.
It was wonderful. It was, I loved every minute of it though.
So here's the thing, and you're absolutely right. The shop, even if you own the real estate, is not going to fund your entire retirement. For all the shop owners that think it will, I hate to break that news to you, but it just won't. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to create cash flow from the shop that you can then invest in something that's going to actually help you fund your retirement. And if you're young, then yeah, you can invest in things that don't produce cash flow and they produce growth that you can liquidate later and transfer into something that produces cash flow. And that's a play that works when you're young, especially if you diversify the investment. You do a little bit in stock, a little bit in real estate, a little bit here and there, and you count on that growth of the value of those assets over a long portion of time. And that works if you're young. If you're not, it's a lot harder because you just don't have enough time to get for those assets to grow in value sufficiently to fund your retirement. So here's the thing. The smartest play, the smartest exit strategy, and I'm going to cut right to the chase, and then we can talk about the details, is this. Get your shop operational to where you've got a manager running things and you can check in and check on your business a minimal amount of time, and then you have the rest of that time to do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. Let's call that semi-retirement. And make sure that your shop is making a good profit. And you take as much of the profit as you can out of the shop without actually hurting the shop. There is a balance there. And you invest that in assets that will cash flow for you, that will add cash to the kitty. That can be stocks that pay dividends. It could be rental properties. It could be whatever you like that creates cash flow for you. And you do that until you've got enough of a nest egg to the point where you don't need that income from the shop anymore, and you can then sell it. And whatever you get from the assets of the sale or from the sale is icing on your retirement cake. In other words, the number that you gave it right at the beginning of the show that your financial planner gave you, 3.3 million and change. You've already got that nest egg there before you put the shop on the market. Now,
by the way, easy math for our friends at home. You need $1.5 million at age 65 for every 50,000 you want to live on after taxes. If you go 25 years in retirement. Hey, can we take a quick commercial break for a second?
Absolutely.
I want to talk about something super exciting. So, COVID, oh, by the way, the worst time to invest in real estate, COVID. Why? Because nobody pays rent because the government says you don't have to. Terrible plan. But anyway, We're coming to Dallas, Texas live. Yes, folks, you can come to Dallas and hang out with the folks at Drive and do some amazing training and meet some incredible shop owners. March 21st through March 25th in Dallas, Texas. Going to be super awesome. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, and by the way, one of the workshops we're delivering in Dallas, succession and exit planning. So everything we're talking about right now is covered in that workshop, and it gives you a plan. It shows you how to plan your exit. And that's one of the two workshops I highly recommend shop owners do as early as possible. Actually, I recommend all of our workshops, but on this topic of exit, retirement, stuff like that, do that workshop and do the fundamentals of wealth and get yourself set up as quickly as you can to exit so that you can have a comfortable retirement.
Yeah, the thing I want to just share with everybody out there, which you'll learn in these workshops, is you're not in business to make money. Yes, you have to make money. Money is a tool. You're in business to create wealth, and managing your assets correctly is fundamental to being able to someday be able to stop playing the game if you want to.
Exactly.
Hey, by the way, just a quick tip for those of you guys that plan to transfer to the kids and you're going to pull money out of it. Here's the thing you got to start planning for. Okay. You're all of a sudden they're going to want to increase their income. They're going to want to make what you used to make. Plus you got to pay for you. And what if you have more than one kid? So your business may have to become 2 to 3 times more profitable in order to support you and the kids in retirement. So you really need to start working on that long time before you decide just to hand over the keys and quit. And here's the thing, you never want to pick your exit plan when you're forced to because of health. You always want to pick your exit plan long before you're forced to, because then you have the choice.
Yeah. In fact, I recently, there's a couple of websites that specialize in marketing businesses that are for sale. And I just happened to glance at it over the weekend, and because I was just curious about how many motivated sellers there were. And the number of people that are selling businesses, both in this industry and other industries, because of health reasons was astounding.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all businesses that you can then essentially pick up for a song, because those people need to get out. And that's the last thing you want to do. That's the worst position you could possibly be in. You want to have your exit plan in place. Now, sure, you could be working your exit plan and be forced to move everything up because of a health problem. That can happen. But if you have the right insurances in place, including long-term care insurance, long-term disability insurance, that will cover a good portion of what you need while you're selling your shop. And it doesn't put you in such a position where you have to practically, do a fire sale in order to get out because you can no longer work in your shop. And this is all part of exit planning. And that's why we started the show with the time to do your exit planning. If you didn't do it when you first started your business, is right this minute, because you have to have these plans in place, and you have to think of all these different scenarios that can happen. And a lot of people don't like to think about, I don't want to think about becoming disabled. I don't want to think about having an illness that prevents me from working. Well, let me clue you in on something. Nobody does. But if you don't think about it, it's a lot worse, because then you don't have a plan for that contingency.
Hey, can I give some good news to all our friends out there that are saying, holy crap, I just committed suicide? By the way, your life insurance won't cover it if you do. But I just want to share that, we've had a chance to work with a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and helping them start to focus on creating wealth in a shop, not just trying to go to work to make money and fix cars. You can recover from this, but the time to do it is now. And you have to learn how to run a business that creates wealth, not be in a car repair business that just fixes cars. It doesn't make any difference how hard you work. It doesn't make any difference how sincere you are. It doesn't make any difference how much honesty and integrity you think somehow that matters. When it comes to retirement, you have to plan in advance. And unfortunately, no one's going to bail you out if you don't. This is your choice. But the good news is you can, with honesty and integrity, do the right thing, but you got to learn to run the business like a business owner. And by the way, let me
Right.
just show something else that should terrify all of you out there. Not only do you need $3 million to live on $100,000 a year, every employee you have has that same reality. And guess what? The Gen Z and the millennials, they're looking at retirement as part of the comp plan, which means the cost of tech is going to skyrocket. And you have to be able to take care of that in today's new market. Two things are scarce today: capital and labor. And boy, both the cost of both are going up.
Yeah, and which is all the more reason that you have to put your plans in place and you have to manage your shop and build wealth as you go. Because if you don't, you're going to look at your shop and when you're 70 years old and go, I still don't have enough to retire and I'm really tired of doing this.
Oh, I just talked to a guy yesterday that's in that scenario.
That's exactly what will happen. So you've got to start planning your retirement today. You got to start looking at your exit strategies, have contingencies for things that you don't like to think about, and work those plans.
Yeah, let me just throw this out. I know we got to go. Just want to remind all of you guys that we have something called a shop business analysis. If you'd like to talk to one of our master consultants and have kind of a one-on-one talk about what your retirement plans are, when you want to exit the business, I think you'll find it's the most enlightening time you'll ever spend with anyone. And it might be a good investment. So be sure to look into it. I know it's on our website and it's on our Facebook page. We'd love to help you sleep better at night. Because I tell you what, there was a time when I was $400,000 upside down, and now I got plus 3 million in retirement assets. And you know what? I don't care what the government does, and I don't care what China does. I just don't care, because life is better once you fix the problem. So just something to think about.
Absolutely correct. All right, so we are just about out of time. And to remind everybody again, we do have workshops that we will be in Dallas delivering several different workshops here. We'll be doing controlling the front, planning for success, building your dream team, and as I mentioned before, succession and exit planning. So register today, get out there. We want to see you in Dallas. And next Friday, we will be talking about a little bit more about what to expect in Dallas. We have a couple of guests from Drive, Cody and Brian, who will be talking about what we have in store for those workshops in Dallas. So tune in next week to find out more, but go ahead and register today, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Chris. That was awesome. And hey, everybody, best barbecue in America is in Texas, unless you're from Tennessee. Y'all take care now.